Okay, beautiful. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for tonight's very exciting webinar. We have a very special panel for you tonight, and you are here to join us for our Alumni Insights College Admissions Journey webinar tonight. We're so grateful that you're going to be here with us. This is going to be tonight's format. Okay, so for those of you who are just joining, we are going to be holding this presentation in a Q&A format. So the bulk of tonight will be question and answer format with our three amazing panelists. And these are the topics that we're going to be discussing. Okay, so broadly, the topics we'll be discussing tonight will be high school experience, right? What was our alumni's experience in high school? College search and application journeys, transfer pathway, paying for college, and recommendations ultimately from our alumni. If there is time, we will have additional questions at the end if we do have time, and we are hoping to go from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. this evening. Before we get started, in case you don't know who we are, my name is Being Nguyen. I'm a futurology counselor at Elisa Niguel High School. Futurology is Capistrano Unified School District's college and career counseling program. We are a group of credentialed school counselors, and we are experts in college admissions, and we are extremely data-driven so that everything that we do at the school sites and for the district is based on the needs of our students and our families. We provide one-on-one counseling, programming at every single high school, including our alternative high schools as well. And we're here to support students in all areas of college and career planning with classroom lessons, workshops, and webinars like this one. Without further ado, I would love to introduce you to our alumni this evening. I'm going to go ahead and bring them on screen for all of you, and we'll go ahead and have them introduce themselves as they appear on the screen. And we'll go ahead and start with Aaron.
Hello, my name is Aaron Azami. I graduated class of 2021 from San Juan Hills High School, where I, after that, went to Saddleback and transferred to UCLA and graduated with a major in political science. As of right now, I'm studying for the LSAT, hoping to pursue law school and then corporate law after that.
And Eve, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eve. I graduated from Dana Hills High School in 2024. My major is politics/Latin American and Latino studies with a double major in legal studies. I'm currently studying at UC Santa Cruz, go Slugs, and my future career goal is to work in civil rights or for the government.
Thank you so much, Eve. Catherine?
Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine, and I graduated from Elisa Niguel High School in 2024, or in 2025, this past year. And I'm studying economics with a concentration in finance at the University of Pennsylvania with aspirations to pursue policy consulting in finance.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. We're so excited to have all of you share your different perspectives with our families. With that, let's go ahead and jump right into our first set of questions. So first topic, right, that we're going to be covering tonight will be your high school experience and extracurriculars, okay? So first up, and this is a question that we get a lot from our high school students, what kind of classes did you take in high school, and how did you decide what type of classes to take? Would anybody like to take this question first? Were you challenging?
I can go.
Okay, go for it.
I took kind of a mix of classes, I wod say. I was really interested in the extracurricular side of high school. So oftentimes I was taking half of my classes were academic classes, but half of my classes were extracurricular. And I was very lucky to be able to do that. But I did do zero period and after school classes. So I was in school a lot during high school, but I did take a mix of APs, and I kind of just did classes I was really interested in. I knew that I wanted to go into policy work in college, so I didn't take a lot of AP sciences or AP like math. I took a lot of the social science classes like English and history as AP credit, but I did choose to also enjoy like parts of like my high school experience and take fun classes as well. I took like marine ecology that was offered at Dana, and I was able to also just experience the fun of having like different classes as well. But I took a mix, I would say, and it was pretty good. And I think the end factor for me was just I wanted to take classes that would prepare me enough, but classes that I would also enjoy. And classes that would challenge me. I would say that in the fields I am, like currently I'm in finals and I have to write four essays. And so writing 4 essays, I can write them in a short amount of time because I was doing like AP Lang, AP Lit, AP US, but like AP Math wouldn't have served me in college, just because I'm not taking any math courses. But yeah, I'd say that's that. And then for extracurriculars, I'll talk about it a little more later. But I also wanted to have a lot of fun and really center myself in high school. So I made sure my schedule was a good mix of classes.
If I had to add something, I would implore people to take as many APs as they could or want to and can manage, primarily because when you start undergrad education, those APs, if you pass the AP test, count as credits, which come in very, very handy down the line because you could either complete your college education early or you can have a less course load. But essentially what APs do, you pass the test, which means you don't have to take the equivalent in college. So for like me, I didn't have to take any science courses for my general education because I did all the APs and passed the tests. And I also didn't have to take English courses because if you take AP Lang and Lit, they're covered. So you could really like put yourself in a very advantageous position if you do take APs. And if you want to challenge yourself, I would recommend it. It's not like completely something you have to do, but that's just kind of what I did. And I went in with an understanding that if I do this, it might be a little difficult during the time of taking it, but it will significantly help you down the line.
That's a
Awesome.
really good. That's a really
Yeah.
good point. I'd add that that AP courses are a really good way not only to apply credits to classes that you would otherwise have to take in college, but also as an opportunity to show colleges that you're able to handle rigorous coursework. In addition, I also approached high school as an opportunity to grow and learn in different fields. And so in addition to taking AP and honors classes, I took the advantage of the opportunity to do current enrollment at Saddleback. And so I was able to explore different classes from an international political economy class to a communication class to improve my public speaking skills. And that really served me in many ways as I was going through the application process. And I was able to share how some of these classes really impacted me. For example, one of the questions that would often come up in these college interviews would be, what is a favorite class that you took? And being really able to talk about an experience that you had in a class that you're passionate about is something that is really beneficial in the process. And like Eve mentioned, take classes that you're genuinely interested in. So if you want to be a doctor, consider taking AP Biology. If you want to go into engineering, consider taking AP Physics. If you really like political science, take AP Government. And so if you're not sure what you're interested in, try as many different things as possible and see which subjects you gravitate to the most. The CCA, College and Career Advantage classes, are also a really great way to explore your interests. They have a lot of great classes with hands-on internship experience, so that's also a great way to explore as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for plugging our amazing CCA classes as well, right? Because a lot of students don't know about that. And it's a great way to connect your career interests and your major interests to your academics as well. Thank you, all of you, for your really thoughtful responses in that area. Moving on in the areas of kind of high school experience, right, and extracurriculars and what you did. And Eve, you were actually mentioning this, right? So what kind of activities did you do in high school, and how did you find out about these activities and eventually pursue them? So I think the big thing behind this question is that a lot of our high school students want to find things to do and they don't know how to find those extracurriculars, right? I am going to have Catherine start off on this, and then I'll let everybody else follow up after this.
So the first avenue I pursued with activities was like year-long activities, sustained commitments. And there was two different types of commitments, one school commitments and two commitments that I pursued outside of school. And so within school, I was involved in ASB. I was the student board member for the district, and I also served on a state board in Sacramento for education policy. And so those were more structured experiences that allowed me to learn more about policy and government. Versus I pursued other opportunities on my own outside of school. And so I think one of my biggest pieces of advice is that if there's something that you're really interested in, but it doesn't exist yet, go ahead and create it yourself. So for example, I really wanted to find ways to give back to the community during the pandemic. And because of the shutdown, there was limited access to resources for students. And so I started my own service team, and we implemented local and international service projects. I also served on a variety of international nonprofits. And I think those skills really showed colleges when I was applying that I knew how to take initiative and stay engaged and mobilize people to create impact. And so I think it's also just more than starting a club. There are a lot of club presidents, and so I think what really matters is the impact that you're able to make in that role. So I think it's way better to have a couple of commitments that you're really passionate about and dedicate a lot of time towards versus having 20 different commitments, but you're not really making a lot of impact in any of those roles. And so if there's a field that you already know that you're interested in, go for it. But if you're like me and you weren't really sure like what you wanted to do after graduating high school, use this as an opportunity to explore a lot of different fields. And I think one way I particularly did that was through summer programs and activities. And there are so many free summer programs out there. And so I think there's a common misconception that a lot of these programs you have to pay for. But I was really lucky to apply to these programs and be able to attend some of them. So Google is your best friend. AI is your best friend. Use it as a source to you can if you're say I'm a sophomore high school student from California interested in biology, looking for free summer programs, and then asked it to compile a list of the name of the program, the application deadline, the program dates, the application link, and you can use that as a source to find different opportunities. And so I had over my few years in high school, I studied abroad in Taiwan, India, and Japan for free. And so through those programs, the first year I learned about Chinese, the language and national security. In my junior year, I went to India, and it was a program about STEM. And so they had students from around the world studying at an international high school in India. And then finally, I did a program on diplomacy in Japan my final year of high school. And so I think those experiences really helped me learn more about what I was interested in and helped me solidify my interest in pursuing international business. And so I also pursued a lot of other things locally. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something, a huge commitment. UCI has a lot of great programs. For example, they have the Future Leaders Initiative, which is through their School of Business. They also have some research opportunities for high school juniors who are interested in cancer research. And so doing some research about what's going on at the local universities, what national programs exist. There's also lots of online programs. If you're a female interested in computer science, Code with Clossie and Girls Who Code are great opportunities. So the opportunities are out there. Researching and being online and seeing what's out there is really important. And then also, if you can't find that thing that you really want to do, make it yourself. So those would be my two biggest pieces of advice, and making sure that you're doing things that you're actually passionate about. I think like a common misconception is that that colleges are looking for a very specific type of activity, but for me, I did the things that I was interested in. When I was applying senior year, the UCs had 20 slots, 350 characters for each. The Common App had 10 with 150 characters for each. So they're very short ways to short and terms of conveying what you've done. So focus on doing what you really enjoy, and that'll shine through when you're actually applying to college.
Thank you so much for that, Catherine. That was super comprehensive, hopefully helpful to some of our students listening. Eve, you had mentioned extracurriculars as well, right? When you were talking about what classes you were deciding to take based on your interests. Do you want to share a little bit about kind of the extracurriculars that you pursued?
Yeah, I'd love to. For me personally, I've been doing like theater since I was really young, and so since I was like born, I was dancing and singing and acting, and so that's something I wanted to continue in high school. And in high school, that is exactly what I did. In middle school, I decided that I wanted to be a business major, which is not my current major. And I'm sure we'll get more into choosing your major later, but I really wanted to be to be in that realm, but I also knew I currently had skills that could be utilized. So in the theater world, there is at Dana Hills, we have like part of our school is an art school. It's called SOCHA, South Orange County School of the Arts. So I really utilized that resource, and I became president of my arts department. I was president of my like drama department. I was the lead Cappy's critic, which is like a journalism group on like statewide. And so and that basically also I held over like 20 roles in like theater design and over 15 roles in performance. So like throughout my 4 years of high school. So this really just gave me a background in managing others, being a team leader, just being organized, being disciplined as well, because I would oftentimes be in class, like doing theater or doing design from like the hours of usually 12 in the afternoon to 10 at night. I would be in school just working on my projects. And so it did teach me a lot, and I wrote a lot of my essays about that. And so I was really involved in the arts. Again, I was in musical theater, theater production, in acting, in theater design. And so I was kind of just doing a lot of the arts. And I really utilized kind of what was given to me and the resources given to me. And in that, I also chose to do my own initiatives as well. And I like there's so many leadership opportunities in really like in the arts as well. And so I really did that. And then I also just continued to get more involved in theater. Like I mentioned, you have the Cappies program, which is like it's a journalism program where you go to different schools and critique their shows. And so that was a great program that really taught me the basics of writing and gave me a more insight on how to write critically. And I also won several awards for this program as well. I was really good at publicity and marketing. And so I won, I was nominated every year that I was in high school for like Orange County Artist of the Year, for like being a nominee, which is like the top 5 students in like all the arts departments in Orange County. So I was nominated several times to be in the top 5 of these. And that showed me like how to market, how to manage, and taught me skills that would have been necessary in business and are still necessary in politics, I would say, but taught me skills that like weren't directly maybe tied to business, but could be related to. But I was still focusing on enjoyment in high school and like enjoying my extracurriculars, but also making sure I was setting myself up for the future. And so that's what I would kind of say. It's any opportunity can be turned into an opportunity that is relevant to your field. And so if you don't have an opportunity that's directly tied to like being a doctor or being tied to being a lawyer, then think of what you currently have and what your current skills are and go into that, because that's exactly what I did. I was like, well, I've been seeing my whole life. I can continue doing this in a different capacity. And so that's exactly what I did. And I really loved it. And I can say I had a lot of fun in high school. But on top of doing like theater and all the things I did, I also for copies, I was also like a published critic. So I was published in the Orange County Register. If you Google my name, you can look up articles about me. So it was a pretty fun time in high school doing theater, but also like additionally, I looked outside for opportunities as well. I was an intern for a San Clemente council member. And I just emailed her and I said, hey, like I would love to intern for your campaign. Like, and she just said, I would love to have students. And so just like a simple email, like, people are people, and they love students, they love young people. That's what I've realized throughout high school. And so just reach out, like, and just send them an email. Also, adding on to something Catherine said earlier about the summer programs, I also did summer programs throughout high school. They were business programs, again, not my major anymore, but I did a business program over the summer at UCI my second year of high school. And then my third year of high school, I did a summer program for business at Berkeley. And so I knew I wanted to go to a UC, and I knew I knew I wanted to major in business. And so I was able to look into each UC and like go to a summer program. And there I was able to also meet admissions officers from the UCs. And so, but also like something else I also was doing was kind of getting into policy and just like, and so I saw issues that I cared about in my community, and I was able to like work with nonprofits locally and nationwide as well. I worked for a nationwide nonprofit called Students Demand Action, and that's something I did as a side activity that I was able to write my essays on actually. And I also, one last thing that I also did was just volunteer. Like volunteering is kind of where you meet like incredible people. I'm sure all your high schools have like interact clubs. And so that's where I started volunteering. And I also volunteer with the Ecology Center and the Ocean Institute. And so those are just like, I really care for the environment. That's also part of the reason why I chose UC Santa Cruz, because I love nature. And so just also do something you're passionate about, because that reflects well on your essays, I would say, or just well in your college admissions. You want to do stuff that you like, stuff that you care about. And again, like if you see an issue in your community, think about solutions, think about how you can get involved to change that. But also, if you already kind of know the path you want to go to, think of what you currently have and what access you have, and how you can change the narrative for that to be something relevant in your future. And so also make sure to have fun. I mean, I loved all the activities I got to do. And I think and now I know students that go to like schools all over the nation, all over the world, actually, because I was focusing on making community and making connections during high school. So it's really, really great. And I think, yeah, just have activities that you like, and don't hesitate to reach out to people. Like people are your friend. Like, so make sure that you're reaching out to people and just being a person, because that's what's most important, I would say.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Eve. I think an important takeaway from that is the very vital networking that happens, right? And I think I'm sure all of you experience this, is when you start doing one thing, you start connecting with other students who are interested in the same thing, and all of a sudden you're finding out about other opportunities that are aligned with your interests, right? So it's a great networking opportunity as well. Thank you so much for that. We're going to move on to, in the interest of time, right? Because we want to get through all of our questions, and we are at 6 o'clock now. So finding the right college. Okay. So a lot of the students in here are thinking about college, obviously, and the right fit for them. So the first question I have for you, and I'm going to have Erin start us off, is what factors mattered most in your decision, okay, in choosing a college? Thinking location, size, cost of program, campus culture. So what factors mattered the most? Erin?
This is going to be very different for everyone, depending on the major. A lot of schools are better for the particular major you want to go in. Like UCLA is renowned for their medical program or their political science program, with Berkeley being, heavier emphasis with STEM and medicine as well. But for me personally, cost and location matter the most. If you're a student who wants to get the most out of their experience and also save the most money, applying to UCs and Cal States is probably some of the best options you'll have because of in-state tuition. Not only to get the perks of living close to home, but you don't pay nearly as much tuition as you would out of state. There are costs and benefits to that depending on what exactly you want to do. But for me, I want to be close to home. I want to save as much money as possible. And all these schools that you will go to in-state will likely have the same opportunities that you would get elsewhere in other states. All have to study abroad programs, all have domestic programs. And for example, UCs offer a lot of study abroad. And if you're like me and want to go into law and politics, they even include a UC-DC program, which is essentially study abroad, but just they have a separate campus in Washington, D.C. you could attend for a quarter. So essentially, it's going to differ for each person. But my recommendation, if you are considered or worried about cost, you can still apply elsewhere. and apply for scholarships. But for me, California made the most sense. But as I mentioned, it'll differ for each person.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Catherine, did you want to respond to this as well?
Sure. So, like Erin mentioned, in-state versus out-of-state is one of the biggest considerations, at least for me. And so, like Erin mentioned, cost is one aspect. In-state tuition it can be a game changer in California. If you're a student who will receive significant aid, I wouldn't rule out private schools or out-of-state schools as well, because sometimes those packages could be even better than the UC schools. And then I think also in terms of in-state versus out-of-state, you want to think about where you want to work out after graduation, and how the location aligns with the industry you're interested in. For example, I'm going to school in Philadelphia, which is about a 2-hour train ride to New York, about a 2-hour train ride from Washington, D.C. And so one of the great things about going to school here is that a lot of clubs and student organizations will host career treks where we can meet firms in person. The pipeline to New York at Wharton is very strong. And so if thinking about like where you want to work after graduation is something that's really that can play a role in what college you apply to. Public versus private can also be a consideration. Private schools are typically smaller and more expensive, but they can have generous financial aid that could make them comparable or even cheaper than public options. And so you can look at those net price calculators to see where you stand in that aspect. Something that I wish I thought about more was a major and academic flexibility. So you want to choose a school that will support your intended major. And if you're undecided, you can prioritize schools that will allow like easy exploration and switching majors. For example, for several of the UC schools, once you're accepted, you can switch majors within the college, but sometimes it can be very difficult to switch into a more competitive college or like a high demand major like computer science or nursing, for example. And so you can also look at each college's website. They usually have some data about first destination jobs, employers, salaries, job placement timing in terms of when people are getting jobs after they graduate, whether if you're interested in graduate school, what those outcomes are, geographic placement about where people are working after graduation. Some colleges even offer some matriculation programs if you're interested in attending graduate school, which means you can be accepted to grad school while you're still an undergrad student. Some will have, for example, my school has an accelerated master's program, which will allow you to complete your bachelor's and master's degree within 4 years. So looking at those type of programs and seeing what you're truly interested in will help you in determining what colleges you're interested in. Fly-in programs are a great opportunity for first-generation low-income students who qualify. They will typically cover all of your expenses for you to visit their college and see what it's like. Some schools will have virtual programs as well. My school, University of Pennsylvania, has the Penn Early Exploration Program, so the applications will be coming out soon for juniors. And so looking out for those type of opportunities as well could be really, really awesome in figuring out what type of campus environment you're interested in.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Eve, anything else to add? All right, let's keep on moving. Okay, so you, some of you have finished college, others are in the process, right, of being a college student. So, question for you, and I'm going to have Erin start us off. Did your college end up being what you expected it to be?
All right, so I mentioned briefly at the start, I went to community college first and then transferred to UCLA, so I could briefly touch up on both of those. Regarding community college, there are a lot of preconceptions around it, and in my experience, it exceeded my expectations. It almost felt like an extension of high school, except where you choose your own hours, your own professors, and remain in much smaller classrooms while doing college-level coursework. The benefits of that being that you spend more time with the professor than you would in a massive lecture hall. So I found that I learned much more than I would have if I went straight to a 4-year, because I did experience those lecture halls afterwards. I also didn't have to battle out for classes. I mean, there are a lot of spaces open in classes, and compared to 4 years where first-year students have to battle it out for like 3 seats in a class, all the seats are open. But ultimately, what really exceeded my expectations was the quality of the courses and the sheer amount of knowledge that you will gain. If I had not taken my general ed courses or my major prerequisites there, I don't believe I would have gotten anywhere near graduating summa cum laude and top of my class at UCLA. So you have a lot of time and you can focus a lot on academics and education in a very engaged and small personalized environment. And on top of that, saving like hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially while still receiving the same education, if not better than four-year institutions. So on the other hand, when I transferred, it was pretty much how I expected. I will say going in as a transfer, there are some bumps in the beginning, the first quarter, but after that, it eases down really quickly. As I mentioned, community college prepares you so well. Like I found that I was more knowledgeable than a lot of my four-year peers as a result of the education I received at community college. But going back to how I said it was a little bit rough, it will be competitive. And if I'm going to be bleak, you will like have some humps in the road in the beginning and gaining a balance between transferring from a semester to a quarterly structure. But the key to really experiencing it is getting involved and sort of just enrolling in classes that actually align with the major you chose, and being confident in yourself. Overall, you have to be confident that you're prepared and that you belong there and you will succeed, as it happened with me and with loads of other community college students that went to UCLA with me. So that's how it was for me. And yeah.
Erin, thank you so much for that perspective. Catherine, Eve?
I can add on a little. I would also like to add that like some like an institution like the UC, especially, there is so many opportunities for people. I would say I'm only a second year and I'm already president of my college. And so like I'm president of my college. I like for my I do research already. I work for legislators off campus, and I also work for like our like main like admissions hub as well. And I do 5 billion other things on campus, but and I work for our student union, and I get to basically travel to even other UCs as well through my job. And so I didn't expect that in these 2 years I would be able to be so involved. And even with transfer students, like adding on to what Erin was saying, like even being a transfer, I think that sometimes even prepares you more. Like sometimes like I think where would I be if I took 2 more years to maybe focus? Because for me, it took me a lot longer to pick a major. Or just to change my major. I came in as a business major and I've switched it like 4 times, and now I finally have a major that I like. But yeah, I think like taking time and like to really focus on what you want to do in college is so important, and so that transfer experience is so important. And there are so many transfer student resources as well when you get to the UC. And I didn't expect like to come to college and find like a community immediately, but I'm really glad that like I picked the college I picked, and that like it kind of exceeded my expectations on how involved I'm able to get as just a second year. And I've also seen like the transfer students also like build that community as well. And I think the UC's really hone in on that. And yeah, like seconding what Erin said, it's going to be difficult, but I think like you'll make a good community, especially at a blue and gold school. And of course, I can't speak to the out-of-state experience, but I would say it's been a lovely ride, and I'm glad that it didn't I'm glad I didn't know what I was coming into when I got in, but I'm glad that I'm here now and that it ended up like being how it's going. So yeah.
Eve, thank you so much for that perspective. And it's so interesting because I know all three of you are so involved on your college campuses or were involved on your college campuses. And that makes all the difference for your high school, for your experience in college, right? It's not the fact that you went to UC Santa Cruz or UCLA or Penn that made it a good experience. It was that you took advantage of what was given to you and made it a good experience. And that could be said for any university out there. And I want our students to remember that as well. Moving right along, we have a lot of questions still for the three of you. So college application process, okay? Let's move into this. Okay, first question. What part of the college application process was the most challenging to you as a high school student, as a senior? Aaron, I think I had you on this one.
Yeah, I could begin. For me, it was the personal statement. If you know, college applications are getting more and more competitive each year. So counselors are taking a more holistic approach with a greater emphasis on essays and personal statements. So for your personal statements, I have a lot of notes that I've taken from admissions counselors. I often share them with other college applicants. I won't take up too much time, but I could briefly skim through it. And I have some notes from the dean of UCLA admissions, who served on the board with me at Pre-Law Society. But essentially, a successful statement is more than just a resume in narrative form. You have to. It's like a deeply personal exploration of your character, encapsulated within like a narrative story. So its success, it largely hinges on a balance between the plot, so events that unfold, and the narrative, which is like the deeper and underlying message that you convey through these events that happen to you. So imagine, for instance, you go on a backpacking trip across several countries. So the plot could be rich with a bunch of tales, but what they're really looking for is the narrative that could reveal self-discovery and resilience and what you really learn from it. So a lot of the times there's a misconception that I fell into, which was really challenging to get out of when I was writing my personal statement, is that you're tempted to focus on something that's really dramatic, which can be the case, but what happens is you often hinge it on the visceral appeal of these, and there's a pitfall wherein you focus too heavily on the sequence of events that a lot of people actually leave out the underlying narrative of what they learned, and oftentimes you end up having very surface level essays. So the biggest thing I would say is just don't necessarily try and hinge on having a specific dramatic event that you need to write about. I would be true to yourself. Spotlight an aspect of your life that you don't mention in the rest of your application that shaped who you are today. And it doesn't have to be like theatrically gripping. It just has to be presented effectively and real and show who you are as a person. So personally for me, I struggled that much with the application process, and as a lot of people do. But from what I've heard from admissions counselors, that's what you should ultimately try and achieve with your personal statement.
Agree wholeheartedly. And with your permission, I'm actually going to transition us into what the next question would have been. And I would love some more perspectives on how you approached writing your personal statements and college essays, right? So Aaron gave his kind of experience with that and how that was the most difficult experience for him, which is the case for many seniors because it involves a lot of soul searching, right? And thinking about who you are and what you value. Eve, Catherine, I'm interested to see what your perspectives might be if either of you want to share.
I can share very briefly. I wrote about my middle name and what my middle name meant to me, and I wrote about how I didn't like my middle name growing up, and I related that to being a person of color in Orange County. And so, like, think about your experiences that you've lived, and it doesn't have to be something crazy. Like, you might have not gone through something insane in your life, and that's okay. You're not expected to, but write about your passions. For some of my essays, I wrote about how I liked to sing and that and like and that's okay. Like you can write about something so simple but make it like just be intentional with what you're writing because it'll come off and like they'll be able to see your passion and see your dedication. And I would say like what I would change about my essays because I reading them now I think there's a lot of flaws to my essays, but I would also just say like what I would do differently is just check in with more of my professors, check in with other people, kind of like Aaron was saying. Like you're able to talk to any admissions officer at any college. I mean, you're able like if you wanted to like reach out to Penn and like reach out to their like to their administrators or their people who do admissions, you're allowed to. And that's what I encourage you to do. I know a lot of people who met with admissions officers before submitting applications, and that led to them getting in. And not because they like persuaded the officer, but because they got insight as to what that school was actually looking for. And so that's something like I wish I did was utilize my resources because like a Google search, it's free. It takes 2 seconds to Google like who works at admissions for what's the email to admissions. And so if you want to go to UCLA, like look up the UCLA admin, like admissions, and email them and see if you could schedule a meeting or a one-on-one. And sometimes they'd be willing to even review your essays with you. I was able to get someone on the Berkeley admissions to review my personal insight questions for the UC application. And I think that helped me tremendously. Just finding that balance between passion, but also how does this relate to the UC? How does this relate to getting an education? Because sometimes I think there's a blurred line between that. And so making sure that like you do something that's relevant, but also relevant to you personally as well.
I think that's really great advice. And something just to add, so, and just to provide some context for maybe some of the underclassmen on how the college essay process works, so for me personally, I applied to the UC schools, and I also applied to some out-of-state schools through the Common App. And so for the UC schools, you submit 4 personal insight questions. And so those are more straightforward. They're 250 words each. And you can choose 4 prompts out of the selection that they give. And so I would recommend choosing prompts that show several different aspects of yourself. So ultimately, what you want to prove to the university is why should they make this investment in you? So like as thinking of as this as a business student, like what they're thinking about, what are you going to contribute to their campus and eventually to their alumni community far beyond you complete their education there, and how you're going to contribute and make an impact on the world. And so when you're writing your essays, reflect on your experiences in high school growing up, and how that has really impacted who you are and who you want to be. And so the Common App has a 650-word personal statement. So this is the primary essay that you'll be submitting to all the colleges that you apply through the Common App. And each college will also have their own supplementals. So a common question for supplemental is an essay about a specific aspect of your identity. They'll have an essay about why you want to go to that college, what you're going to contribute. And so I think really showcasing different aspects of yourself and showing and specifically for the Common App essays and the supplementals, showing that you've done your research on the college, I think is really helpful. When I committed to Penn, my admissions officer sent me a letter about my application, and she specifically mentioned one of the programs that I said I was interested in, which is a Penn Global Seminar. So it's a study abroad program here at my university, and I wrote about it in one of my essays. And so I actually participated in that program last week on spring break, where I traveled to Botswana and South Africa. And so I think like showing your interest, a genuine interest in what the university has to offer and why you're choosing to apply to them out of the hundreds of the thousands of universities out there. And so I'd also say making sure that you're showing your true tone and voice. When I was writing my essay, I tend to be a more serious person, and so I think that really reflects in my writing. And I was seeing all these really creative essays out there on the internet, and I felt like I needed to write an essay similar, this really unique metaphor. And so I tried that at first. I submitted that essay to a couple of colleges, and then when regular decision came about, I was like, I don't really think this truly reflects who I am. So I ended up rewriting my essay about like my leadership and my leadership journey over the last several years. And I think that more represented my voice, and it really truly felt like me when I was submitting the essay. Getting people to read over your essays, friends who have already been through the process, who are currently in college, Futureology, they'll read your essays. They're really great at providing feedback. Teachers, people that you trust, mentors. College Essay Guy also has a lot of great resources about the PIQs that from the UCs, and also some of the supplemental essays. If you go to the public library, they'll also have books filled with college essays, examples, just to expose you to the different types of writing styles that are out there. But ultimately, my biggest advice is to write in your own style and make sure that when you're finally finished with the essay, that you really think that encompasses who you are as a person.
Awesome. Thank you so much, all of you, for for that input. We are going to transition over to paying for college, right? So let's move into our question here, which is, what strategies helped you reduce the cost of college? Catherine, would you like to start us off?
Sure. So this was something that I was really started thinking about a lot in senior year, especially I was as when I decided to go out of state and to a private school. And so there are two primary types of scholarships out there. Beyond, so let me preface this by saying that financial aid is one aspect of reducing the cost of college, but I'm going to focus mainly on scholarships because that's the area that I have of expertise. And so there's two types of scholarships: need-based and merit-based. Some of these scholarships are full tuition and full ride. So full tuition involves paying the entirety of tuition. Full ride encompasses tuition alongside housing, food, books, those type of things. And so there are a lot of scholarships out there. Right now for juniors, the Cameron Impact scholarship is open for the class of 2027. It closes on May 1st or whenever they reach 3,000 applications. And that the Posse scholarship is a merit leadership-based scholarship. Some full ride scholarships, Gate scholarship is need-based. It's last dollars. Quest Bridge is also need-based. It opens in the late summer, but their college prep program actually closed. Their deadline for the college prep program for juniors closes next week, and so that's just a program to get students who are first gen or low income ready for the college application process. The Jack Kent Cook Foundation College Scholarship is also another full ride. The Coolidge Scholarship is a merit-based scholarship, which is it's for the class of 2028, and the deadline will be in December. So there's a lot of great opportunities out there. I'm sure you can find more if you put in a Google search, look in AI. And in terms of there's local scholarships, and these scholarships tend to have fewer applicants and better odds. The ones that I've just listed are the national ones, and so those ones are more competitive. There are also scholarships that are not necessarily full ride, but they are super helpful. The Taco Bell scholarship, the Coca-Cola scholarship, Amazon, Dell, National Honor Society, ELK, and Most Valuable Student. So there's so many scholarships out there, and you can find the ones that best match your interests. Some of them will be for specific majors or from specific, if you identify with a certain background. There's a lot out there. You can look at FastWeb, Bowl.org, College Board. Those are some scholarship databases out there. And I think that for me, I was really able to I applied to a ton of scholarships after I submitted my college applications, and that really helped me with paying for college and being able to choose the school that I did. And so if there's a lot of opportunities out there, so don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I think even as a underclassman, you can still start applying, and then once you get to senior year, it'll make the process a lot easier.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Catherine. Any other comments before we move on?
Catherine summarized it pretty well for the scholarship side of things. For the UCs, it's a bit different. There's only, I believe, one full ride scholarship, and it's the Regent one, which you are awarded. I don't believe you could really apply for it. So mainly UC scholarships hinge. They have a database. If you just search up UCLA scholarships, there's a whole list of scholarships you can apply to. Some can range from like a yearly tuition to 2 years, and sometimes even a full rides. The school itself doesn't award full rides unless, well, they don't allow you to apply for it. They award it. From my experience, I basically had about most of my school covered from instead grants. So on the other side of scholarships is applying for the FAFSA. And when you do so, schools will see that if they accept you and award you with university grants, with middle class or low income grants, or there's also just grants for being a California resident or a transfer student. So the UCs offer loads of grants that you could obtain simply just by filling out your FAFSA form. So that's also another option for in-state.
And I can add one small thing. Each school will have a page for scholarships like on their like high school website. And for me, I apply to every single scholarship on the Dana Hills website. And because no one really applies because people forget or think they're not going to win, I won every single one. So I I was on that stage, I was doing circles around the stage when awards came up because I was winning every single scholarship. And that's also where I made connections that have like lasted me till college. And so like after this meeting, maybe you want to connect with your guidance, like I don't know what they call them anymore, but like guidance mentors or like advisors at your high school. And sorry, it's been a while since I've been in high school, but yeah, maybe connect with them and look through the scholarship page, see which ones you can apply for, and apply for every single one. You can oftentimes use your college essays for these scholarships. That's what I did, and I just sent every single one in, and that was a bunch of money I was able to save. But also alongside FAFSA, there's also CADA, which is for it's California Dream Act, which is financial aid, but for undocumented students. So if you're an undocumented student, there's also resources for you to get money. And once you enroll, your college will have scholarships for you specifically as well. And then there's always grants within your major as well. So if affording college is something that you're worried about, there's so many opportunities and so many resources out there for you currently and once you get accepted. And also, if like your financially doesn't look like you want it to look like, call the financial aid office up. That's what I did. I said, why am I paying this much for XYZ? And they were able to deduce some of the cost. And so make sure you call, like fight for that financial aid if that's the school you want to get, you want to go to. And for me, I called and said, I'm between this school and this school. And what's swaying me is the financial aid. I need to get more. And that's what they did. They gave me more. And so it was just a simple phone call. So don't be afraid to stand up for yourself and to like make sure that like wherever you want to go is a place you can go to. So yeah.
Thank you so much for all of that information. And as a reminder to everybody who's listening, the FAFSA and the CADA, right, are required for high school graduation per Assembly Bill 469 for our high school graduates, and great options for you to find sources of money. And of course, if you fill out one of those applications, you do qualify for the Promise Program, most students, despite income, right? And that would allow them to go to community college for free for 2 years as well. So some opportunities for our families for sure. So thank you all for kind of contributing to that discussion. You could do a whole webinar for us on financial aid and scholarships. My goodness. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and skip to the reflection and advice portion, right? You have all these combined years of wisdom so far in high school and now as college students and graduates. So let's wrap up with some reflection questions, okay? So what is something students worry about in high school that actually doesn't matter as much in the long run? Catherine, you want to start us off?
Sure, yes. So I think the one thing I realized is that your GPA, your test scores, they don't define you. And I think that it's not about the college that you go to, but it's what you do when you get there. And so if you have ambitious goals and dreams, I think you can achieve them wherever you decide to go. And if you having the right work ethic and the approach is the biggest advice that I could give. And something I realized as I've entered college is I think we're in this sort of like never-ending rat race. So we try to do a good in high school to get into a good college to then get a good job, and then so I think it's important to realize everyone's path is different and to not get too caught up in the process. And do your best, but don't let it define you or consume your life, and make the most of the time that you have now as a high schooler to enjoy being at home, being with your friends, being in this stage of your life. And so college admissions can be stressful, but I'd say don't let it define you.
Sort of building on that is the pressure. There's a lot of pressure on high school students to sort of know their exact career path and have everything figured out. And there's a lot of comparison where you see other people who seem like they have a plan, and so you make yourself feel bad about yourself. But the reality is, most people have completely different paths. Everyone has their own path. Everything always works out for the best. Building on what Catherine said, one bad grade or test doesn't define you. It won't ruin your future. There are so many opportunities out there, and if you just consistently follow your own goals and passions, everything will work out. because long-term success is mainly just driven by your own discipline and resilience, not by one test score, and not by thinking that you have to have everything figured out by the time applications roll around, because that's just not true.
Thank you for those words of wisdom. And in fact, I'd like to kind of take us to our final question, right? Which is kind of along the same vein of what we were just discussing. But, you have a room full of high school students in here with you, right? And potentially parents as well. So what advice would each of you give to students who feel uncertain about their future right now?
I can go. I would just say that you'll find community wherever you go, and rejection is redirection. I truly believe that. And for me, I was so disheartened when applications came out because I got waitlisted to my dream school. And but I gave a chance to Santa Cruz to come onto the campus, and then I fell in love with it. I came back to school and I even considered maybe going to Saddleback, which wouldn't have been an issue. However, I came back and I thought, wow, I'm in love with that school. I started feeling homesick for a school that I'd spent 2 days on. And so think about, like, it's less about like the prestige or less about kind of like those, because those things don't define you, like test scores, like the prestige. It matters that you have a true connection with the school. And for me, like I I feel like I have a piece of home at school. I live in the middle of the forest, but I also live across from the beach. I also live in a really sunny area that reminds me of SoCal, reminds me of Dana Point, my home. And so I think I chose the best school for me that also has incredible opportunities for me that, again, just as a second year, I've been able to dive into. And I would just say that, again, like kind of what Erin said, it's going to work out. And when those acceptance letters or rejection letters come out, it's okay. It was meant to happen. And also, the community college route of transferring is always going to be an option as well. And the stigma that that's not okay option is so wrong, because like we should normalize that. Normalize taking the time to be intentional with your decision and go to a school that's going to give you what you want out of not only academics but out of life as well. I think Santa Cruz has given me not only what I want from a school, but has challenged me in ways beyond just classes. Has challenged me to be a better person that's giving to my community, and also has given me a community of people of color, of other first-gen students, of other females who are in this work. And I wouldn't be where I am without being at Santa Cruz. Part of my job is traveling to other UCs, and I go to other UCs, and I've been to every single one for work, and I meet with student leaders across each UC. And I think I've realized that I made the right decision for myself, and I wouldn't have been happier going to another UC. And also all the students I interact with, they're also fourth years and third years. And so I'm usually the youngest in the room because I go to UC Santa Cruz. I go to an institution that allows me to straighten the values that I want. And so that's the final advice I would say, is just be intentional and focus on yourself rather than society's stigmas and stuff that they expect from you. Just have a little chat with yourself on what's really important, and give each school a chance. And if you can visit schools, please do that. And I also know that the college career programs at each school invite schools to come. So like go to those sessions. And if there's opportunities for you to travel to another school, please take them. So yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty much summed up perfectly. I was just also add, it always works out. Like for me, I initially out of high school got rejected from UCLA. So what happened was I settled for a school I didn't want to go to and still went anyways, just because of the pressure I had, where I felt amongst like a pressure I put on myself that I have to go to a 4-year. So I went to UCSB for 1 week and then dropped out. And then I went to Saddleback, and as a result, everything worked out. I met people who ended up being connections at UCLA. The future president of the pre-law board was a Saddleback student that I was in a class with. And I ended up doing really well. And that's all because I was actually intentional. I really grounded myself and listened to what I actually wanted to do, not what would look good to others. So that's the key thing to do. And also, if people didn't know already, Saddleback does offer guaranteed admissions into every UC except San Diego, Berkeley, and LA, but they also offer an increased chance of getting into UCLA through one of their TAP programs. So even if you get rejected from UC you really want to go to, you will more than likely get into it in the future if you go to Saddleback as well. So everything always works out. There'll definitely be bumps in the road, but at the end of the day, if you stay resilient and just look straight ahead and be true to yourself, everything has its way of working itself out.
And to add on very quickly, very well said, but on like the career aspect of it, I think something I really struggled with last year was figuring out what I wanted to do. And I went into the application process applying to so many different majors. I applied to computer science, I applied to AI, I applied to cybersecurity, I applied to foreign affairs, I applied to business, and so I applied to journalism. So there was so many different things I was interested in, and that I think that really reflected in my applications that I was really uncertain about what I wanted to do. And I think that's okay. Like, I think you're not expected to be 17, 18 years old applying to college, knowing exactly what you want to do for the rest of your life. Right now, I'm studying finance, and I'm still not exactly sure what I want to be doing right out of graduation, or even in the next 5 years. And so I think exploring different paths, taking those CCA classes, being curious, reaching out to people in different careers and talking to them about what their jobs entail. You never know where those connections might lead to. They might share opportunities or summer internships. And so even if you're in the latter half of high school and you think you're too far in to change your interests, it's never too late to explore something new. So my main point is to continue being curious, to keep exploring, and there's always a way to pivot, no matter what happens.
I have to thank the three of you so much for being with us tonight. Your combined experience is so invaluable to the families of our district and for everybody who will be watching this recording in the future, right? Because this will be sent out to everybody. What I see across the three of you is huge amounts of curiosity and initiative, right? And drive. You were all unafraid to take risks and to reach out to people and to apply for scholarships and to apply to things widely, and to take those chances. And you landed all in kind of the perfect place for each of you, right? So I really want to thank you for sharing your perspective with all of our families tonight, and for spending some of your time with us and sharing that with our students and our parents. I want to honor everybody's time, and go ahead and wrap up tonight's webinar. But again, Eve, Erin, Catherine, thank you so much for sharing some of your wisdom with us and your knowledge with us. And for our families who joined, thank you so much for being here to learn from these three amazing people. We so appreciate your time, and we hope that you all have a great rest of the school year. And Eve, Catherine, and Erin, best of luck to the three of you. You are going to be huge change agents in the world, and we're so grateful that you are alumnus, is that the plural, of Capistrano Unified. You are representing us very well, and we're so proud to have you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night.